what counts is people ultimately make wealth.
Just 30 seconds more. I'll just wait for the signal before we start. Right, good evening again for those who've just come in. Now is the exciting part. So in the whole day we've been debating and we've been looking and trying to understand that how the AMC industry needs to be fixed, what are the challenges, what are the opportunities, what should distributors focus on. But like some of our experts in the previous panel pointed out, that ultimate growth of the mutual fund industry is also a function of market performance. And that is where my next panel kicks in. Some of the top CIOs of Indian mutual fund industry, over the next 30-40 minutes, they would walk us through that what is the way forward, the path forward for Indian equity markets and why things are looking rosy, both structurally and cyclically. With that opening remark, let me just turn to Naren. Naren, everyone is of the view that a structural, cyclical, and an inevitable bull market has dawned on us. That is the feeling. There is a sense of excitement. There is a sense of hope. So, will people get it right? Will people get it wrong? Because majority rarely gets it right.
The sad thing, and which is typical of any bull market, is people are underinvested still. So till the stage where people get overinvested, there is still a lot of hope. And while people may be structurally bullish, cyclically bullish, except company promoters, I'm yet to meet people who are well invested in equities. So I think, unfortunately, as is always the case, people are still underinvested in equity. But one of the lessons that I have learned over a period of time is when 1 year returns on funds touch 100%, there is time to actually tell people that it won't be the future. Getting 100% from here is not it's more like a dream in the next 1 year. And that I keep telling people, because as we meet, the last year's bottom base was around the end of August. So, the 1 year return, whenever I've seen people invest on 1 year returns, I've seen that there are times when they get a lot of unhappiness. So I tell people, you're going to get, it's a very good cyclical structural phase. But at the same time, to make very big returns, normally you need to invest in pessimism. There is no longer any pessimism in equity markets. There is pessimism in fixed income markets. So there I say the opportunity is great because you're investing in complete pessimism. So when you invest in pessimism, the opportunities are always much better. Whereas today in equities, most people are optimistic. And that's why they're underinvested, but optimistic. Which is why it looks like we are in a situation where you can get decent returns in equity, but not the kind that you got in the last 1 year. So that's the current situation. So I think the second is, if you forget that India is having a cyclical structural boom, you go and look at markets like Turkey, whose current account deficit is not corrected. Yeah. Even those markets have done well. If you see Greece 10-year yields, they are at record lows. Spain and Italy and Ireland, their 10-year yields are at record lows. So this is not a market which has gone up only because of India. It has gone up because of a global boom. And in that global boom, you can't have one-way booms. So, somewhere in the year 2015, there should be a correction. Now, are investors ready for that correction? They are all underinvested. So, in my opinion, they should invest in equity. But at the same time, when a correction comes, I don't think we can give capital protection in a correction. Yeah. So that people also have to understand. So what I try to tell people is deflate expectations. That is my job right now, because everyone is anyway positive. So deflating expectations is a very good job for me.
Naren is just trying to deflate infection when the good things have started. Is he right in deflating expectations, or now return expectations have to be normalized? What we got in last 12 months was a bumper thing. I mean, that was an extraordinary event. Sure. That may not repeat itself. Or do you think things will continue to surprise us on a return perspective because the story is so strong and because we are going through a structural change post the new regime?
If you look at what has changed, like we were in a cyclical low, a low of a lifetime where virtually everything stopped. From there we are coming back. if you look at the base effect advantage of the return is behind us. That's clear. But alternatively, most other asset classes today are not there to allow you for getting even 7-8% compounding, except maybe certain debt instruments which can benefit from the change in the interest rate regime. So directionally, if people have time on their side, there's still compounding possible over a 3-4 year period. The degree of compounding just cannot be what has been in the last year, because these are extreme returns, because if you get it for 3 years, all of us retire on a compounding basis if you get those kind of returns. But I think reasonable, good compounding on a sustainable basis is possible. Yes, you should have 3 years on your side or a meaningful period of time on your side, and you have the whole earning cycle yet to play off, and that will allow for those returns to come.
Navneet, whereas we can talk about great returns, fabulous, come back by the equity market, the grain of the truth is that no one has participated in last 1 year. I would say not 99, but 99% of Indians are feeling left out. All of them are getting this feeling that the train has left the station. So how should one now prepare their portfolios for someone who's not participated in last 1 year, for whatever reason, but now is ready to take that dive?
It's not only 1 year, but the 5 years. So in 2008 and 9, domestic investors put in around $30 billion. And in 2012 and 13, I think they pulled out some $20 billion. And I'm sure that the market value of some of those probably investments would have gone down. So they probably pulled out everything, coming at the top and probably leaving the market absolutely at the, not exactly at the bottom, but probably just before the bull market started. I think we have a long way to go. The ingredients for a sustained bull market are very much in place, which I put it, a stable macro with this kind of political mandate. I think the earnings growth for next 5-7 years, there is good amount of visibility that will at least go back to the long range profit growth of 14-15%. Valuations are reasonable. Of course, they are not as cheap as they were exactly a year back, but I think they are reasonable in line with long-term historical range. So I think we are okay. You are not entering market at, let's say, a 25 PE where the return expectations have to be extremely muted. And the last piece, I think liquidity flow, because I still believe that for foreign investors to look at the asset classes where they are trading in the rest of the world. I mean, Naren talked about Spain and Italian bonds, but you look at every single asset class in the world. So the US 10-year treasury at 2.4, German bonds at 0.93 for 10 years, Japanese bonds less than 0.5%. You look at every asset class you look at, I mean, people are investing in aluminium to earn, I mean, 3-month at the money call options that trades at like 12% volatility, because you just want to put money which can earn 1 or 2%. And in that environment, I think India still offers a lot of hope, both for the fixed income as well as the equity market. And the domestic investors have just started participating. We have a very, very long way to go. I think the portfolios are massively underweight equities. So I think we have this good concoction in place. And I think somebody was mentioning about, can Sensex touch 100,000 in 10 years? That's, I think if I calculate rightly, roughly 15% per annum. That shouldn't be, I would say, I think it's not an unreasonable expectations. I think over a long period, corporates have been in India, may not have happened in several other parts of the world, but in India have been able to deliver profit growth in line with the nominal GDP growth. So maybe I think that's quite likely. Forget about a PE re-rating or de-rating, add a little bit of dividend, and I think, yeah, 15% is possible.
So, no, for those who are expecting that Sensex could be 1 lakh in 10 years, are they bearish? Will it touch before that?
I think so. It depends on the perception you want to carry. So while 15% earnings growth rate doesn't look difficult, the fact of the matter is we've not had 3 years of 15% plus earnings growth rate except in the period of 2003 to 2008. You need to get the right kind of macro factors in place for you to deliver that number on a consistent basis. Of course, we can get 2 years or 3 years, but to get it for the next 6-7 years in a row requires that we have in place, macro factors which remain fairly, comfortable and positive. And here I'm not just, saying that our domestic inflation rate or domestic GDP growth rate have to be in consonance. You also have to have global factors which are as benign. In the 2003-2008 period, one of the biggest beneficiary of a very benign global factor was India and almost all emerging markets. Whether we have the same kind of benign global factors going forward is a big question mark. So, while sitting in India, as was mentioned by Naren, we find, India has got, that almost no other alternative, and we feel we've done so well. But this is part of a global emerging market move that we've seen. Last year, there was a similar kind of aversion against emerging markets, and we just swam against the tide for whatever reason. So, if we have global factors which remain benign and support our domestic macroeconomic factors, then it's possible. But it's like saying that Indian cricket team goes abroad and can win, series after series, which it should based on the kind of averages Indian players have. But unfortunately, that has not been the case in the last 10 or 15 years of track record. So we can build it on hope, but the reality will require a lot of factors to come in place, which depending on which side of the glass you look at. So I always look at the half empty side, others look at the half full side. So,
But fund managers are programmed to think bullish.
At least I am an exception to the rule. So I think so. We have to survive the short term to be there in the long run, rather than build stories for the long run and get wiped out in the short term. So it is a distinct possibility. But as I said, it requires factors which would be very difficult to just go and predict today, because you don't see that kind of their scenario as of today.
Fair point. Naren, we've not seen a meaningful global correction this year at all. Global volatility as we speak is sitting at a multi-year low. Crude has been on a side, global liquidity has been on a side. Are there chances of a meaningful global correction?
I think a lot of people have predicted 10 times global correction, and the correction hasn't come from 2011.
Hasn't come.
So the fact is that, if you give 0% interest rate and pump the market with quantitative easing, I mean, obviously all financial assets are bound to do well. So, we are finally going to see the end of quantitative easing apparently in October 15. But now there's talk of a meaningful quantitative easing coming from Europe. Is the quantitative easing coming from Europe going to take care of the drop in quantitative easing from US? That's something we will see. So our own view is that, there has to be, markets going one way actually lends itself to risk taking, which is absurd. And we have experiences in 2007 like that. So if we didn't have a correction, I will have to try to explain to people that there will be corrections coming. And the longer the correction doesn't come, more and more people will think this person is too cautious. The fact is that I think meaningfully Warren Buffett has earned between 15 and 20% per year. I mean, to expect a very large return much beyond 20% is something which should not be expected. But India is a great story. Anywhere you go in the world today, people say India is the best story. So which means that the outlook for the next 3 to 5 years looks fantastic. But in between, you'll have some corrections. 2015 looks to be a year where if quantitative easing withdrawal and an interest rate hike, at least there should be one correction somewhere in the next 1 year. That is my belief. That doesn't mean the next 2 months will have the correction, because you still have quantitative easing going on. So, but still, I think India is an outperformer in the world. I don't see a situation where crude, unless crude starts going up, with the kind of crude price today, clearly Brazil, Russia, both are markets which are not attractive, and India is clearly one of the most attractive markets in the world. But
Do you think?
just to come back
yes,
on that
please.
part, I think so. The question is not whether we'll touch 1 lakh or not, is that whether we'll have 3-4 years of earnings growth that we should look for.
That's right.
So it doesn't matter whether we stop at 90 or 85 or so I didn't want to say anything
Now is the clarification.
negative.
I'm not bearish.
I'm not bearish, but I'm just saying what we need is a 4-5 year period of just growth in earnings. Whether that leads to the index going to 1 lakh or 85,000 or 90,000 really doesn't matter. Unfortunately, our industry tends to get, and the media tends to focus on numbers which are very sellable. 1 lakh index is a very sellable number to get interest in, but that really doesn't matter. What we should really see whether we have a chance for a growth in earnings, for 4-5 years in double digit or not, which I think everyone would agree out here is actually a very strong case that we can build on.
Just the ring of that number is so exciting that all of us look forward to it, nothing else. I mean, imagine, close your eyes and think 1 lakh. Wow.
Which is why we as a country love heroes, but we don't love wins. As a team, we don't, go and respect teams that win consistently, but we respect heroes because they've scored 100. So if you score a 80, it's as good as 100, But the point is, Indians score 100 and Australians score only 70, 80, then they win matches more than us. So that's
You wanted to make a
That's one of the big risks is that, as Naren mentioned, I mean, when you have almost a large part of the world, at 0% policy rates from US to Europe to Japan, Bank of England, everywhere, I think a slight change in perception about the direction of monetary policy can create some ripples because there is so much of complacency. Look at the main thing I look at is the volatility across all markets. Look at the volatility in FX market, in commodities market, in equities market, in bond market. This is at a historically lowest across all markets. That just shows the level of complacency which is there, and I think which has been bred by the central banks, showing that we are God and will ensure that markets won't have volatility. Don't worry, we are there. I mean, we'll do whatever it takes. Directly or indirectly, every central bank has told the market participants. So whether there's a geopolitical risk in Middle East or something is happening in Russia, Ukraine, anywhere, I mean, a poor data, good data, everything is perceived as good for the market. This is how it is interpreted. So that's a cause of concern. Of course, when you look at India, obviously, I think we are in a sweet spot. If something really goes wrong in the world, we'll have some short-term issues, but probably that will keep commodity prices under check and maybe good for us. But I mean, that's a concern. I think the complacency which is there in global financial markets, look at the valuation of every single asset class in the world, I think that really makes you a little concerned.
When I was coming for the event, I actually came with a colleague of mine who drove me down to the event, and I gave him a long lecture on why you should invest in Indian equities. Things are looking up for Indian equities. But now I've just got a SMS from him saying that, boss, your panel is bearish, should I wait for the correction?
Did we sound bearish?
All of you insisting that globally things could go wrong.
Not really. So always I think while investing, you need to keep all possibilities in mind. So at the beginning I mentioned that I clearly see for next 10 years, I think India is in a very, very sweet spot, particularly in the next 4 or 5 years with this political mandate. Of course, there is some bit of, I would say, uneasiness or whatever. I think that government is not doing enough, but I think reforms are an art of possibility, and you have state elections and it's not easy to push through legislative reforms, but I think sheer execution is happening, and I think in next couple of years I think we are in a very, very good sweet spot. So I clearly see a good long-term sustainable market, but the only thing that from the global perspective, actually that could be good for India, that increasingly investors will find less and less number of good opportunities to put money. I mean, you can push down bond yields only to a particular level. So I just think of, let's say, European pension fund, how long will keep investing in bonds at 0.93, it will go to maybe 80 basis point. Beyond that, what? You need to make some money. Your equity markets, I mean, the corporates in US are borrowing money for buybacks and for dividends. Apple, I mean, is borrowing money and all that. So at some point in time, they will realize where is the real earnings growth. This is the place where we'll deliver real earnings growth.
Shailesh, Buffett once said that you should always buy a raincoat in winter. You should always buy fear. Unfortunately, fear is over now. Sure. Now markets are fairly priced. But for someone who has to prepare for the next spring, assuming that springtime has started, what should one focus on? Where do you think markets are still decently valued, where growth is going to be strong, and you're confident of earnings visibility?
There are very, very good businesses today, many industries which are still reasonably priced. It's not that, there's nothing like a market, it's an average of average which we're looking at. So there are many pockets of the market where there is reasonable expectations because people don't think things will turn dramatically there, and they are valued at very, very normal levels, cash generating, solid, high quality businesses with 20-year track record available at 13, 14, 15 multiples. So a lot of places where you can participate in these areas. Maybe it could be contra sectors like IT services can contribute, that kind of a space which can be there. And likewise, we'll find as you go to, like domestic auto is reasonably well placed. If you look at India from a context of just 1 year, you may say, we are possibly priced in and things like that. But ideally, where will you find this much of unmet need to be addressed by corporates? There are very, very few countries which have a framework, which have a structure in place and can deliver. And we have delivered before. There was a year in 2007 where we saw the top 30 companies in India, the best year, deliver about 35% plus earnings growth. And in the last 5 years, you have seen cumulatively companies, the top 30 companies cumulated at some 35% for 5-6 years combined. You will have volatility, but the only way to win is to embrace it, take it. You're already doing asset allocation. Within that, you're allocating within large caps, mid caps, small caps, then sectors. So there's too much of allocation happening actually. Rightfully, meaningful, right participation into equities, irrespective of what's going to happen in the next 3 months. I can tell you, like Naren said, people called some 10 corrections. In fact, I remember last 3 years back, people were talking about a double dip in US. Double dip never came in US, it came in India. So please understand, trying to predict every single variable which will work will not result in creating long-term wealth. You just have to participate. You've got very good sectors. Some of the best businesses in the world are in India. And huge amounts of unmet needs are available. And we have not done so much in the last many years. So we have so much to do in the next few years. So I think choosing the right businesses across sectors where capability and competency is there, you still have good amount of returns to be generated.
Then, a typical equity investor, before you plan your investment, the first thing you ask yourself or you ask a distributor, which some of our friends, I'm sure they must be fielding this question, is, कितना return आने वाला है? कितना downside है? कितने दिन में return आएगा? So what should be a reasonable return expectation now? Assuming that earnings will grow in the range of about 15 to 18%, assuming that earnings is ultimately the key driver for any stock market, what should be a reasonable return expectation from a 3-year period?
One, I want to tell you, if we had met on August 27, 2013, on that day people were screaming that in 1 year rupee will be 75 to $1. And you know what happened to rupee. And 1 year back, if there was someone in this room saying mid-cap index will go up 50%, small-cap index will go up 90%, that person may have been told there is something wrong with this person on stage. So the reality is we can't predict. What we can clearly see is that we are in that.
But you can indicate.
So if from that point of view, I have been telling people 10 to 20% per annum.
That's a long range, 10 to 20.
20% per annum.
That's a long range.
See, I can tell you what will change it after a period of time. Suppose US manages to increase interest rates and the world doesn't get into any problems in 2015 when US increases interest rates. Maybe after that event I can narrow the band and give you a much closer range at that point of time. But till US increases interest rates, I would like to err by giving a long range because no one knows what happens when quantitative easing is stopped and US increases interest rates. Does the Europe quantitative easing take care of the entire US withdrawing stimulus? That we will know over a period of time. So I think it's not fair at this point of time for me to give you a very narrow range because I don't believe in a narrow range. That doesn't mean that the market is going to correct from tomorrow. It's well possible that the US interest rate hike is postponed to the second half of next year and you have continuous rally from now till June. But as I can see, I can't see a domestic reason to be bearish at this point of time. So I believe that the moment the US Fed hike happens, I think we can narrow the range and give a good call. But in fixed income, the same call I give saying you're going to earn the best returns in fixed income ever in the next 3 years. But there I see extreme pessimism on the street. People are not willing to believe that fixed income can give you, in my view, an indicative return should be double digit comfortably.
From here
per annum over the next 3 years. But obviously everything has its risk. But the fact is there I see fear. Everyone is having 3 raincoats and having some mufflers and are not willing to hear people. So, for me, a classic asset class to invest in is an asset class with fear and valuations being low and no flows. I've got all 3 here. So there I'm willing to chance my arm because I know that people don't believe. It's like believing in small caps 1 year back.
Fair point. That's a great point. Currently the fixed income market smacks of all the ingredients: disbelief, no participation, and real, virtual bloodbath in that asset. Anup, that's an interesting point. Is there a scope that fixed income market in next 6 months, in next 1 year, can actually outperform equities?
I only do equity, so I cannot.
Generally, I'm saying you have a view on interest rates.
I think so. It will not be correct for me to take any.
You have a view on interest rates.
I'll still stay away from that. I think he's far more closer to that asset class than I am, so my view will be far
So
more.
let me just, take you back to my original question to Naren. In terms of return expectations, which is what the curiosity levels are in this room, from a 3 to 4 year basis, what should be a reasonable return expectation?
So I think if you look at the Indian market history, the markets tend to follow earnings growth. So we've not had a case except in 1992 when we were trading at 50 times trailing. That was the Harshad Mehta point of time. We had a Sensex EPS of 91 and the Sensex touched 4,500 or 6,000, I don't know what level was. So it was the only time when earnings and the price of the market was not in consonance. For a period of 20, 25 years or whatever more, markets have followed earnings. So I think so. Whatever study we have done for the last 7, 8 bull markets, the thing that worries me is that there is no bull market which survives more than 2 years if it is not accompanied by earnings growth. So in terms of 2009-10 uptrend, which was after the collapse and then the revival, roughly 15% of the market move came from earnings growth and 85% came from re-rating and PE re-rating. Similarly, we've had a period since September of last year when earnings haven't really come back and it's only been a PE re-rating exercise, which is why you have to be cautious. You're not being bearish, you are just saying, look at the reality that in the past, whenever you have periods where earnings growth doesn't come back to support valuations, and we are at a level where earnings have to come back to support valuation. We aren't 12, 13 times trailing where you can say that we can wait for 3 or 4 more quarters for earnings to come back. So for me, that is one part which investors seem to overlook because they get clouded by the return of 60% or 80% or 100% that the funds have been able to give. So, and we are very poor students of history of whatever is, there of the Indian market. But the Indian market has shown that if you do not have earnings growth accompanying, the story of re-rating tends to collapse very dramatically after that. And that to me is the biggest worry, is that we are today looking at stocks with possibly FY17 as the point where it gives you comfort. But FY17 is quite a few quarters away, and there is a large distance that you have to cover. And the first sign of earnings growth reviving are still very, very limited, and they're very narrow in a very few sectors. So I think that's where I would say that caution for investors in terms of their expectation for returns has to be grounded. If we are able to deliver, and everyone has already given up on this year, so nobody is expecting this year that earnings growth will revive. But the fourth quarter of this year should at least start the trend of a double-digit earnings growth, however it is achieved. And I think that's going to be the kind of, so if you are an investor, instead of focusing on targets, you should say that your own allocation should be based on these kind of factors, that you should see earnings growth improve every quarter. In the fourth quarter, there should be at least growth of double digit in earnings. Yeah. That in the next budget, the government comes out with a budget which is slightly more colorful than the one that we've had till now in the past. So those are small kind of indicators to tell you that now I have to raise allocation, because frankly, nobody who invests in mutual fund is going to become a Rakesh Jhunjhunwala in terms of wealth or in terms of, so to expect that by investing in a mutual fund, you're going to have a 20 bagger or a 30 bagger, you are living a slightly fool's dream. What you have to see is that it's a good alternative for you to beat inflation and use actually professional help to achieve that goal, which you do not have the time. But we are not going, and we should not give them that hope or expectation that we can match this kind of return. So I think so, investors and distributors should take into account actually how the market progresses from here in terms of earnings growth each quarter, what are the kind of policy announcements that come, what are the pace at which they come, and keep an eye on the global factors, because I think so, again, to come back, earnings growth is going to be the critical factor which is going to drive the market from here, because we are at a fairly good level of valuation. So there is very little room left for further re-rating to happen. I see, or my view is that signs of seeing a very robust earnings growth aren't very visible today. they are built into the hopes as such, and therefore those hopes have to be checked and rechecked every quarter to see whether they are happening or not. That's my long-winded answer.
Now you very neatly, indicated to us what is the difference between hope and reality. But Navneet, I love to be a devil's advocate. That's what I do on TV for a living. So I'm going to take the other end of the spectrum, which is the extreme optimistic view. If indeed we are on verge of a bull market, or if indeed a bull market has happened, why shouldn't return expectations be high? Because in all bull market, crazy returns have come. In 1991, the index went up. In 1991 to 1994, the index became 3x. What happened in the TMT bull run, we know that. What happened between 2003 to 2007 needs no introduction.